I think it's really important to have like clear boundaries, even though we're married, even though you're in a relationship or you're living with someone, because we can get so comfortable sometimes, we tend to forget. I'm like, what are you doing on my side of the bed? And you're eating freaking snacks. You're getting crumbs everywhere. And the only reason I found out was because I went to bed and then I'm like, oh, what's like this? I'm like itchy, you know? And like,
It's like something is poking me.
yeah, something's poking me. I'm like, oh my goodness, these are freaking like chips, like little crumbs.
Or
and
cookies or something.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm like, is this your way of like payback, or why would you eat on my side?
And my response was, I eat on your side of the bed so I don't get crumbs on my side.
Your side, exactly. It's freaking ridiculous. You don't feel guilty.
But you know
at
what?
all?
I don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty at all.
Clearly you don't feel guilty.
No, now I'm heated. Okay. Hi, welcome to the Magnetic Mismatch Show. This is Linda.
And this is Will, and I'm feeling great. What about you?
I'm feeling a little nervous because I've been told that I hit the mic one too many times.
Yes, comment on our Instagram if... No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Yes, you do sometimes, love. It's okay. It's something we're working on. Yeah. I do it too sometimes. Yeah. But hopefully our listeners can forgive us there.
Yeah, and I'm also laughing at Will, thinking that he can live in the wilderness now.
Oh man, we've been obsessed with this show on the History Channel, right?
Yeah, it's on Hulu too.
It's on Hulu now as well. It's called Alone, and basically they have like contestants that they... like 10 contestants that they pick. I don't know how they pick the contestants, and they're able to bring like 10 items with them.
Yeah.
From a specific list of items that they're able to bring. And then they drop them off in like the jungle or like the Arctic.
Yeah. One of those destinations that's very hard to survive.
Yeah, with nothing but those 10 items. And then they have to survive. And basically the last person standing will, and we're not saying the people will die. It's more like they'll tap out, right? Yeah. They'll choose to leave, like if they call it quits. But the last person standing will basically win like $500,000, or in the more recent seasons, like $1 million, right? Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. But I was saying as we were watching the show, I'm like, man, I could do that.
Yeah.
And then you started rolling. I've never seen you laugh that hard before.
I'm like, okay.
And I was really offended, by the way.
I'm like, to the guy that wants a hot shower in the morning, wants
who doesn't? Hot showers
espresso. You know, we'll wake up in the middle of the night to adjust the temperature. I'm like, okay, you
don't have that stuff there, like.
No.
Is that what you're trying to tell me? Oh, all right, never mind. I wouldn't want to do that. Never mind. I'm not saying I would choose to do that. I'm saying if I had to, I could figure it out.
No.
Or yeah, maybe.
No. You just know.
You're like, no, stop it.
Stop. Even if you had a coach, a life survivor coach.
Okay, now you're just talking smack, all right?
I don't know.
I just need to build those skills. But anyway, so... what are we talking about today?
Privacy and boundaries in marriage.
Yeah, that's I think it's a good one, because I think like it hit us really hard, right? This year with the lockdown, and being married now more than ever, we're spending so much time together that I think what I'm realizing, and we were laughing about just the other day, right, is there is no more boundaries in our relationship, it seems.
Yeah.
What privacy? What personal space?
And I think as more and more people are working from home, especially this year, it becomes almost like a shock when boundaries starts getting blurred because you're home together all the time.
Exactly. And speaking of that, what happened the other day? While I was getting ready for bed, washing my face as usual, right? Like doing my evening routine. I have a routine now, guys, by the way. And hey, men, we need to take care of our skin too, okay?
We'll do a full spa day at night. And he's talking about living in the wilderness.
So like, you know how before I would never put on like, I would never do like, I don't know, maybe some people would be like, oh, that's nasty. Like I wouldn't use like facial cleanser at night,
You
or
would just use straight body soap on your face.
I would not use body soap. I would just, you know, like use a hot towel, like a wet towel, and like wipe down a little bit, right? Or I mean, obviously I shower and stuff, but like I didn't know that there was this whole like process in addition to that, you know? I was never taught. Like, how can you blame me? Like most guys, I don't think we take care of our skin as much as we probably should, right? And you were the one that kind of educated me about that.
And I slowly introduced you to skincare routine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
but
like
you were very reluctant at
but then
first.
it started, like the more I did it, I was like, oh, this is nice. And then I started noticing how much better my skin looked and everything too.
Yeah.
So but anyway, so I was doing this process, right? I was washing my face and I've got soap all over my face, and I'm washing and washing, and then what happened?
I come in behind you and I just grabbed you and it scared you.
Yeah. It scared me big time.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't expecting that because I left the door open. I'm like, dude, I'm washing my face. I would not expect you to just pop out behind me and then like grab me, and like I'm like, why would you do that?
And then it happened multiple times after that.
Yeah.
And you know, and I tell you, you should close your door. You should lock the bathroom door.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was my fault, but I'm just so comfortable, right? Like with us being at home, and you know, I thought there was like an understanding, right, between us that, hey man, like when I'm washing my face or I'm like in the bathroom doing my thing, like you should respect my privacy or my boundaries and not just pop in like some freaking horror movie, you know?
Well, if the door is open, then I feel like the boundaries are open.
Ah, I see.
Then
And I still haven't learned my lesson. I still leave the door open. So yeah. But that's how I felt. Like I was like, man, you're not respecting my boundaries.
But you're not respecting my boundaries either.
What do you mean? I am so respectful of your
That's
boundaries.
not true. I was saving my half a piece of pie for another day because I didn't want to finish it all at once, and you ate it.
That seems to happen. Look, it's in the fridge. It's a free for all. Did I see your name tag on there or anything?
But that was my.
There was no sticky note. Like
but that
with
was
your name
my
on there.
piece of pie. You had yours.
Yeah. We both. I guess that's true. We both had the same one piece of pie, but then you only ate half. And then you were planning on saving it for the next day.
Yeah,
and then I got hungry at night.
Coffee, and I was like, and then when I opened the fridge, I was looking for my piece of pie, and it was gone. And I knew you ate it.
I'm like, no, it wasn't me. You're like, dude, like who else was it?
And you had no remorse.
I felt like you were so disappointed. You were genuinely upset, and like I could feel your heartbreak. Like, you know, how, like you're like when you're excited, like. For that piece of pie or
I
cake
thought it
or
was
something.
in the fridge. If you asked me or if I knew you ate my pie
Right.
In the fridge, then, you know, I wouldn't have been disappointed.
But the expectation.
Yeah, I would have been more than happy to share.
Right. So what? How much did your heart sink when you opened the door, the refrigerator door, and then like, where's my pie from yesterday?
I was considering like Postmating or DoorDashing another piece of pie, but just one for myself.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
and then
just to get you back.
A little payback. Yeah. I see how you work. Okay. But you know, to be fair though, in my own defense, like it's almost kind of like when you violate my boundaries and I violate yours, it's kind of like you have to do something back almost, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, why did you, like for you, I feel like your little way of getting me back is like when I'm outside and I'm just doing my thing, right, in my room or my office, surfing the web or whatever, like you enjoy being in the room and watching Netflix or doing stuff on your computer.
I love bundling.
You do. You bundle yourself up into a little cocoon on the bed and you just chill there. But what I noticed is that you tend to like only hang out on my side of the bed when you're doing that and you're eating and you're snacking. And I remember, do you remember like when I would pop in, I'm like, what are you doing on my side of the bed? And you're eating freaking snacks. You're getting crumbs everywhere. And the only reason I found out was because I went to bed and then I'm like, oh, what's like this? I'm like itchy, you know? And like,
It's like something is poking me.
yeah, something's poking me. I'm like, oh my goodness, these are freaking like chips, like little crumbs.
Or
I'm like,
cookies or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm like, is this your way of like payback, or why would you eat on my side?
And my response was, I eat on your side of the bed so I don't get crumbs on my
No,
side.
you're a giant, exactly. It's freaking ridiculous. So you're okay with eating in bed, getting my side dirty, and then when it comes to sleeping, then you go roll back on your side, and it's perfectly clean,
Absolutely.
and you don't feel guilty
But you know
at
what?
all.
I don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty at all.
Clearly, you don't feel guilty.
No, now I'm heated. Okay, I'm heated because they don't know the things you do to me.
What are you talking about?
Especially
I'm a perfect gentleman.
Especially at nighttime.
Oh no.
You
Oh no.
you'll come to bed and then you'll purposely like lay out a fart, a giant fart, and then you'll sit there and then you'll start laughing like
it's kind of like, you know, I don't know if it's like just boys being boys, right? Like even as an adult, this is so immature, right? Like I don't know, like when someone farts, I still find it funny. Is that like just immature?
Yeah. and then you know, I'll give you the glare or I'll scream at you to go outside, you know, or go to the bathroom.
No, it's more than just like, oh, go outside or go to the bathroom. You make it sound like you're so nice about it. Like,
no, I just said I screamed at you.
Oh, yeah. You do scream. Like,
yeah.
You're like, get out of bed. You're like, go sleep in the other room. I don't care. If you're going to be this gassy, just go over there and sleep. I'm like, really? Like,
okay. And mind you,
I just find it funny.
Yeah, Will was doing this every single night for a good period of time. And I felt like every night it was getting worse and worse. And I just felt like even if he wasn't farting, he would like start laughing and make it seem like he just, you know, I don't know, dropped a silent one or something.
Oh
I don't know.
Yeah, you know those are the worst.
Yeah, and
so I was doing this for like since we've been married, and you know, look, you get really comfortable, right? Of course, and it wasn't like I was like.
But I think the fact that, you know, it was making me irritated.
I was getting a little reaction out of you.
Yeah, so you were doing it. You were laughing even if you didn't do anything, just to make it seem like you were. So I was getting frustrated. You know, this frustration is building up because it's like,
oh man,
like,
you're brewing.
Gassy
boiling.
Guy is just like torturing me and tormenting me with his farts. So, you know, that frustration built up. And this one day, you know, we were in bed lying down.
I think we had tacos that night.
I don't know. Same
Something
thing.
that was especially.
Yeah, same thing. Will decided to, you know, rip one. And I turned over. I looked at him. I grabbed the blanket and I put it over his head.
Dude, that was so messed up.
As he was cracking up.
Man, that was I will give you props.
I felt victorious. Okay, I felt like I got one on you.
Oh my god.
And from that moment on, Will knows who is boss. And he doesn't dare to do his little snickering and
well, I always protect myself now. So like if I do, you know, let out some gas, I hold down the blanket and I look over. I make sure, like, you got me one time and I will give you props for that. But like, you're not getting me another time. That was freaking funny though. Like it was, I don't know how late it was, but it was just like, it happened so fast. You know, like when there's trauma, like, oh, I don't know. It just happened so fast. 1 minute I was like farting and I was laughing, having a grand old time, you know, irritating you. And then as I'm laughing, I'm like, ha, 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 then boom. Like the blanket just covered me. It went like completely over my head and I stopped laughing real quick. I'm like, oh. Like, oh, payback. Talk about like a taste of your own medicine, right?
Exactly.
Yikes.
You deserve that.
Oh man. So these are just some things that we kind of do to each other. As we talk about like boundaries and privacy, and you know the other thing. Wait, hold on a minute. There is something else you do that annoys me and irritates me too. you don't respect our boundaries when it comes to like laundry as well. Like every time I do laundry or like take the laundry out of the dryer, and to be fair, sometimes you do a lot of the like the washing and stuff. What I notice is like, oh, I'm about to fold these clothes, and it's like I've got your clothes mixed in with mine, and it's kind of annoying because then I have like some of your long hair like on my clothes too as well. So it's kind of like, oh man, see, you don't respect boundaries.
I'm trying to save the earth.
Wow.
I'm trying to reduce
You're gonna
water,
go that route. Huh?
water
You're gonna pull that card.
wastage, okay?
Okay.
Water wastage. Why would you wash 5 shirts when I have another 5 in the, the hamper? Might as well just throw
Toss
them
them
in.
all together.
Exactly.
I wonder what other people do, like other like couples do. Do you guys mix your laundry? Let us know. Or is that like a complete like no? There's boundaries.
Yeah, in the beginning it was a no, right? We would do our own loads like once a week. But now that we do laundry more than once a week, it's like sometimes because we found that once a week things will accumulate and it becomes like too much to fold, or things starts building up. So I try to do laundry twice a week now.
But in smaller batches.
And sometimes like in the middle of like the second day of the or third day of the week, there's really not enough laundry to wash, so I might as well just toss in Will's laundry and wash it together to reduce water wastage.
Yeah, and the fact that you're home, right?
Yeah.
Like both of us are home like pretty much the whole year so far, and you have more time, right? You normally wouldn't be able to do that, and we don't have as much laundry because we're just home, right?
Yeah.
So, but it kind of, I was thinking about all these funny incidents, and it kind of reminded me of like an episode of I Love Lucy. Do you remember that show?
I love that show.
So good, right?
The content writing of that show is amazing.
Yeah, and I like how like the humor and everything, it still holds up today. And it reminded me of one of the episodes where it was like Lucy was mad at Ricky because he was being messy or something, right? And then they ended up like, she decided we're gonna split the apartment in half, right? You get this half, I get this half.
Yeah.
So it just made me kind of really think about that episode. It reminded me so much. It's like, maybe we should start doing that. So create some physical boundaries. I'll get the bathroom and like the bedroom, and then you can have like the kitchen and the living room or something,
No, because if we split down half, that means I get your man cave.
Oh, that's true. So you might be okay, huh? You'll have everything.
I'll have everything.
I won't have food.
You won't have food,
but you won't be able to use the bathroom.
Yes, I will, because there's a bathroom.
No, but I would get both bathrooms, so.
Okay, so you won't.
I get some of the power too.
Fine.
Okay, like...
so you want people to get food and leave the house.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. But yeah, that was a funny episode. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I mean, I think it, with us reflecting and talking about this and just some of the antics, it did remind us too, like, I think it's really important, right? To have like clear boundaries, even though we're married, even though you're in a relationship or you're living with someone, because we can get so comfortable sometimes with that person or other people that you spend so much time with, we tend to forget like, hey, dude, there's still such things as personal space. There's still things as like privacy, right? And we still need to have boundaries, even though we are married.
Yeah, or in a long-term relationship.
Right.
Or with anybody, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much fun as it seems like Will and I are having torturing each other, yes, it's absolutely important to have boundaries, just because, yes, it may be funny, first couple of times, but if it keeps repeating upon itself, it could get very irritating very ugly. Fast. Yeah,
very fast. It creates a lot of issues, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think one big thing is in terms of boundaries is like privacy. Even though we're married, it doesn't mean like we have to, I don't know, like if I'm using the bathroom, for example, that, you can just barge in or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually do that.
I mean, we don't.
Yeah. I don't do that often. It's just, I just thought it was funny because he was washing his face.
Right. But I'm saying like, what if I'm like using the bathroom?
Okay, I would
right? Like
never.
a
I
number
wouldn't
2.
walk in.
You
No,
wouldn't want to walk in.
no. But I heard the water running and the door was open. I clearly saw you washing your
Yeah.
face. I mean, there's some boundaries too, right?
I think, yeah, actually for that thing, like it would be more on my bad, right? Because I know like in the past, like I got so comfortable. It's like I would go pee and I would leave the door open. And I remember one time you got so mad at me, like, what are you doing? Why don't you just close the door?
Yeah, yeah. I do get
I'm
mad
like, oh,
because
it's not a big deal. We're married.
no, it is. It's still like some modesty.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then I think in terms of like privacy, also just like nowadays, right? We all have our smartphones, we have our laptops, we have our tablets and all that stuff. And you and I, we both have access to each other's like, devices, which is a privilege, right? We trust each other. But I feel like thankfully, neither of us like goes in and starts snooping, at least, right? Like to start looking through our
Yeah.
phones and messages and like what are you doing on your phone? Who are you talking to? Right? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, because it's important to have that kind of boundary, and it creates trust too. Like I
Right.
trust Will to, behave in a certain way, and you expect the same from me. Like I wouldn't do or say anything that'll, disrespect our relationship, right? And I know Will is the same, so I know that I don't need to go through his computer or
Emails,
emails
texts,
or
whatever,
anything.
social
Yeah.
media. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and vice versa. And that takes time, right? It takes time to build and also like how, trust in that person as well.
Exactly.
And it goes both ways,
Yeah. And if I do need his computer, right?
Yeah.
Then
I'm always like, go for it.
yeah, I'll ask.
Right.
And I will only use the program that I need. Like I wouldn't ask
And
to
start digging.
Yeah, to start digging. Like that.
It's like, yes, he said yes. Let me now go snoop through all his stuff, right?
No.
As tempting as that can be.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not tempted. I just find it I don't need to. Like if I'm suspicious or I want to know, I would
you'll
rather
probably
just
just
ask.
confront me.
Yeah, I would just ask.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's really important and I think that's good. And that's something that I think we had to learn over time. Right? It didn't just happen. It took some time before we were comfortable kind of opening that part of our life up to each other. I think the other thing too, when it comes to like boundaries, I feel like what's good too is when someone's like having a conversation, whether you're on the phone with your friends or your parents or somebody that you're speaking with, or like on a Zoom call, like for me, right? We don't barge in or intrude on each other or like sit,
Or
go over there and eavesdrop,
No.
I think that's really important. And those are some boundaries that sometimes I think people may not think about, right? They think it's okay or they don't know how that might come across to the other person. It's kind of like that person might take it as like, whoa, why are you like being so disrespectful?
Yeah. Or being kind of intrusive too.
Yeah. Or insecure or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that should be almost like an unspoken rule. If somebody's on the phone with somebody or they're doing their thing, it's important for the health of the relationship to give that person that privacy that they deserve. Because we still, as individuals, we need our privacy from time to time. It doesn't mean you have to go and hide everything from your spouse. I think transparency is important. And I think like us being open with each other is important with certain things. But at the same time, I don't have to tell you every single thing either.
And I think if your partner's not ready to tell you, try not to pry too much.
Right.
Just create a space that is comfortable for them to share when they're ready to share with you. And don't pester them, because the more you kind of try to pry and dig, the more they feel like they don't want to share it with you, or
they close up even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with boundaries, like space, whether giving the other person space, whether that's physical space or emotional space, that's very important. Like, like you and I, like whenever we get into arguments or something like that, I think a lot of times what I realize is you need both. You need both the physical space away from me and you need the emotional space, right? I mean, you tell me, like, how do you feel? Like, we got into a little disagreement, or all right, let's say we got into a little bit of an argument last week.
This week.
This week. Oh wow, it's actually that recent. But what happened in terms of like how you wanted to deal with it? Because we got into an argument. I knew I was wrong. I admitted I was wrong, right? But I feel like,
and I told you it's fine. I know that I
it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, I knew that you were sincere, that you were wrong, and you felt bad. But still, I needed time to digest that moment. And
What was I doing?
And you kind of went back to your old ways, trying to fix and resolve the issue immediately.
Right at that moment.
Yeah.
Because I felt really bad. I owned up to a mistake I made, or I was in the wrong, and I admitted it, and I realized that, oh man, I screwed up, right? And my initial reaction, I don't know, again, if this is just a guy's thing, I feel like studies have shown that men are more likely, like when we get into like arguments and stuff, that we tend to want to just fix the problem. We want to find a solution and we want to make things all better right at that moment. And sometimes that's not what your partner needs.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And yet, like, a part of me kept wanting to fix it because I felt so bad, right? You were ignoring me first and foremost, and you were clearly upset at me. So then I was like,
well, I told you why I was so upset at you.
And I was like, I wanted to kind of just like, let's, like, in my head, I'm like, let's resolve this so that we can get on with our day, right? And not have you be mad at me for a couple of hours. But what ended up happening was I caught myself. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. She doesn't respond well here, right? Like, she needs emotional space right now. And so, because it was like awkward. I was like sitting there like for like a minute or two, trying to just like, oh, maybe if I stay here long enough, she'll open up. No, it's not gonna happen.
No, I got even more mad.
I could tell you getting even more upset, like just brewing. You didn't say anything, but you could see, and gut fellas, you know what I'm talking about. You can feel your woman like just getting more and more angry, right? Like more and more tense.
Yeah.
And they're about to explode if you just push a little bit more. So I'm like, okay, this is a time bomb waiting to explode. I need to go outside of the room, give her some space, let her chill out, right? So I just went over to the office, to my office, and just watched a movie. And then a couple of hours later, like an hour, not even a couple hours, like an hour later, we made up. Right?
Yeah.
And it blew over and it was fine. We talked about it and it was all good.
Then we ate in a acai bowl.
There you go. There you go. Food always brings us back together.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the peace offering, right? And yeah. So the secret, guys, to our relationship is just good food.
Yeah. We love sweets.
Oh, yeah.
Acai bowls, pies, cake.
So whenever you get mad, I'll just buy you a dessert or something. I don't know. If only it were that easy. I wish it were that easy.
And also talking about space as well. As more people are working from home, it's important to give your partner the space they need when they're working as well, and not
100%,
and not intrude in their time and disrupt their day, because that's very important, because it could become very irritating very fast.
Yeah, like there needs to be some boundaries there with respect to somebody's time. If they're working, they're working. Mm-hmm. They're in that headspace, even though physically we are, most of us, or a lot of us, I wouldn't say most of us, a lot of us right now are working from home. Mm-hmm. It's so hard, right? To like set those boundaries, to have a clear line. Sometimes I hear friends talking about it, and the people that have kids, right? How do you even, everything is blurred, right? And it feels like because you're in a limited space at home, now your work and your home life is mixing together, and that's not good.
Yeah.
Right? It creates a lot of stress. And if your partner is not also respecting your time while you're on the clock, it can get very disruptive, and your partner might be working on a project, right? Something, or they're doing something, they're very busy that day, they're slammed, and you keep constantly coming in, knowing or maybe not knowing, and you're still interrupting them or trying to take their time. You're not being respectful of their time, right? If they're working, let them do their work. And it's not like you and I, like when we're at home, we're pretty good about it, but like we'll pop in from one time or another. We know like when it's okay and when it's not, right? Or we'll ask each other, hey, you want to chit chat for a couple minutes? You have some time right now?
You want a little snack?
Yeah. Yeah. So being respectful there, I think, is critical, because if not, then, your partner might feel like, hey, you're overstepping.
Yeah. And, sometimes crossing the boundaries, it's not intentional. Like you can have like good intentions.
Right.
For example, let's say you notice that your significant other has been very busy, and you notice that their stuff is untidy, and you want to help them by, I don't know, refolding their closet or something. I think before you do that, ask them, is it okay? Because yes, sometimes their stuff may be all over the place, but at least they have an order, right?
Are you talking about a specific example here, or are you just talking in general?
I'm just saying in general.
Got it.
Like I remember when I was especially younger, my dad, he's so nice, right? But sometimes I feel like even though his intentions were good, sometimes like I used to get furious because he would go in and reorganize my entire closet, and that wasn't what I wanted, right? Even though there's nothing in my closet except clothes, like I felt like, boundaries were crossed.
That's true.
So before you help your significant other or quote unquote organize, ask if that's okay. Maybe that's not what they want.
Your intentions are good. But that may not be what the other person wants or needs.
Yeah. Or
or at that moment.
Or if they do want your help,
right,
they may want it a certain way.
Sure.
Right? Because people organize differently.
Yeah, they like their things a certain way.
Yeah.
Everybody's like that, right? No, that's absolutely true. I think another thing to coming back to like respecting and having boundaries with time is also like alone time. You and I, we talk about it a lot in our podcast and how important it is to have alone time. We definitely enjoy our alone time, and both you and I would say we're introverts, right? For the most part, which means that our personalities are the type where, yes, we know how to be social, we know how to be around people, but when that happens, we get drained, right? We get drained and our energy's gone, right? And so the way we recharge is by having alone time, quiet time to ourselves, to think, to reflect, to just chill, right? And when we don't have that, I feel like I get a little cranky, and I feel like just completely depleted, like out of energy, and I'm like, my tank is empty. So if I don't get my alone time, I'm not fully myself, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I, we've done a pretty good job of giving each other that space and making sure that we don't intrude on each other's alone time. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, even though sometimes we could be watching the same show or the same movie, but the fact that we're not physically in each other's space, it allows us time to recharge.
Yeah, or if I know like, oh, you're just over there, you had a long day of work and you just want to like be on your computer, you just want to relax, I'm going to go and do something else, right? I'm not going to go pop in there and start being like energetic or whatever around you,
Yeah.
Like, give me attention or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because it happens, right? It's tempting.
Yeah. So. And time, it's a limited and a valuable resource because it's a finite resource. And I feel like you need to be respectful of anybody's time,
right.
Everybody's time, not just your significant other, but just in general, be respectful of a person's time. If your spouse plans something and tells you, it's going to be at like 5 p.m., make sure you are on time, because that's being respectful of their time. Or if they plan, or if you plan together on doing something that day, that time, don't plan something else and expect your significant other to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's because you've intruded and disrespected,
You've overstepped your boundaries.
on their time.
Yeah.
Because they cleared their schedule for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone could have like been planning or got been very excited for that plan that you guys put together and agreed on, and then a last minute change or a cancellation, like that's devastating, right? That's very hurtful.
I mean, unless it's an emergency, right?
Of course,
then
right.
It's understandable, but
right.
don't be flaky.
Yeah.
About keeping a scheduled plan or whatnot.
So having boundaries, right? Understanding that that's what your spouse, what's important to them, right? That's part of their boundaries. You need to be able to live up to those boundaries or uphold them, right?
Yeah. Because they could have planned something else if you
Absolutely.
said no.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of now, if you just flake on them for no reason,
they're kind of left with holding the bag, nothing, right?
Yeah, with nothing. It's like a time slot wasted on something that they could have scheduled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another, I guess, part of like when we're, now that we're talking about like marriage and any relationship really, like where you're with somebody, and privacy and boundaries and stuff, I think you can't talk about that without talking about like friendships, right? And I guess outside other social things, right? Like that you do beyond just the relationship or the marriage.
Yeah.
And I know in one of our previous episodes, we talked about having friends of the opposite sex, right? Can men and women be just friends, right? I think that's equally important here in this discussion about boundaries, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Like if you're going out, if you're planning on going out with a group or you're planning on staying out late, I think it's fair. I mean, it's up to the partners, right? Like what they want and what their boundaries are. But like I know for you and I, our boundaries are that if you're going to go out with somebody or go out late, just let me know. That's all I expect, right? At the very least, I want to know where you're going and at least what, that you're planning on being out late or something.
Yeah. And maybe like a periodic check-in. So I know that one, you're okay. And
so once every like minute, or is that good?
No, once every like, I don't know, a couple of hours or something, just, or if you're going to a next destination, it'd be nice to just, drop a text. Hey, I'm leaving this place and going to the next place.
That's what works for us.
Yeah, that's what works for us. So I know where your proximity, where you're at, right? And that way I'm not worrying about like, wait, I haven't heard from you and it's late.
Because that sucks. I know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think we've all been there where like you're worried about somebody that you care about. You haven't heard from them. It's like, did something happen? In your head, in your mind, you're going through, dark thoughts and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Or if, I'm planning on having dinner or going somewhere, then I won't have to consider, you in the equation because I know you're out.
Exactly. Yeah. And same thing, I think kind of talking about that conversation with like having friends of the opposite sex, I think part of boundaries and respect is also recognizing that like, yes, we all have friends of the opposite sex, but there's certain situations that is probably smarter not to get yourself into, even if it's completely innocent or there's no like malintent behind it.
Yeah.
Right. Don't put yourself in a situation where it can make your spouse feel insecure or suspicious or paranoid, right? Like if somebody went out with somebody of the opposite sex and they're hanging out at like 2 a.m., right, alone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the other spouse at home, what are you probably thinking, right?
Yeah, because there's a difference between getting dinner for like,
and hanging out.
Yeah, between like 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Versus hanging out between like, I don't know, midnight and beyond, then it's kind of like weird now. It's like nothing good happens after midnight.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to really know what your partner is comfortable with, where their boundaries are with social situations or events and things like that. And I think it's just I think with our message and what we're trying to say in this episode is that having a discussion and being transparent, being open with your partner to find out what those boundaries are for some of these things that are important in our lives. When you establish those things, it just helps the relationship so much, right? It helps you avoid a lot of negative things, arguments, right? Anger, maybe frustration,
Yeah.
feeling insecure,
Yeah.
right? Maybe even like feeling disrespected, whatever. It just takes care of a lot of those issues before they rise, you know?
And sometimes you don't know what your boundaries are until
Yeah.
it happens. But if your boundaries are crossed and you do feel any of those negative emotions, it's very important to bring it up and let your spouse know.
Because they're not a mind reader either.
Yeah, because sometimes they don't know. And, just keep in mind that everyone, we're people, we're humans. And, sometimes people get into their old habits and they forget and they cross the boundaries. But it's important to let them know and not, be explosive or reprimand them for it.
Or also like not let them just get away with it either.
Yeah.
And not bring it up. Hey, that bothered me. Or, hey, that you fell into your old ways again, right? But at the same time, I agree with you. You don't want to, if somebody screws up, and because changing is hard, right? And it takes time.
Yeah.
If the person is sincere, they're trying, I think it's important to I'm not saying let them get away with it with no repercussion or anything, but they need to know about it. Hey, you messed up. Here's why I'm upset, whatever, right? But also give them the benefit of the doubt in the sense that like they're trying.
And it's not ill intention.
It's not an ill intention, right? And you being explosive or somebody like getting really upset at them for messing up, it really demotivates them, right? Or that person might feel like, wow, like I'm trying, but then I still get yelled at. Like that person won't feel that great either.
Yeah.
They might not want to continue to change or whatever, right? It gets difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for us, the takeaway, maybe some lessons, and as we're talking about this, I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm learning a lot more too, right? Is that at the end of the day, when you're in a relationship or when you're married, you're a team, right? First and foremost. And everything is focused on the health of the relationship and for the sake of the relationship. And so when you create these boundaries with each other, when you are transparent about privacy and things like that you guys are comfortable and agree with, then it's also your duty as a team to uphold, make sure we're both respecting each other's boundaries, because it goes both ways. It can't just be one partner doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Right. And with that in mind, I think that will definitely, like I said earlier, help the relationship be stronger and more secure. It will make people feel better in the relationship, right? I know I do, because when we talk about stuff like this, I feel relieved. I know I don't have to worry about you doing something that crosses the boundaries or things like that, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully vice versa.
Yeah. And communication is key, right? You can vent to your friends, your family about how, your spouses or how, they make you uncomfortable or, you feel disrespected. But if you don't tell them, sometimes they don't even know.
Talk to them directly. Go to the source. Don't. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that wraps things up for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, as always. Make sure you do go ahead and check out our Instagram at Magnetic Mismatch. It's the same handle for our YouTube channel. We put up videos there as well of these podcasts. And of course, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review if you enjoyed the episode on Apple Podcasts. We're also available on every other audio platform.
Make sure you subscribe to us and share our content with your family and friends. And until next time.
Yep. Until next time, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you later. Bye.